Alpha, third flight. Yeah, let's go. Alright.
Airplanes can be flown in two ways, with visual reference or without visual reference. Flying without visual reference is called instrument flight rules, and so as the title implies, you'll rely on instruments, and if you don't know how to use them, you're literally fucked. So how exactly do we navigate without looking out the window? Well, first we need to get familiar with the VOR, the HSI, and the RMI. And to spare you the annoyance of having to learn what they all mean, we'll just tackle them one by one.
I don't know how good of a time this is to say this, but I kind of have to pee.
First is the VOR instrument. This thing carries the same name as the thing it tracks, so you'll be using the VOR to track the VOR. VOR stands for Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Range. The VOR station transmits signals which allow you to find your radial, which is your position relative to the station itself, where north is radial 360, east is radial 090, south is radial 180, and west is radial 270. And I think you can extrapolate the rest. Frequencies of VORs will range from 108.00 to 117.905. Within the VOR instrument, you'll find the CDI, or Course Deviation Indicator, which is just a fancy way of saying needle. It deflects left and right depending on your relative deviation from the radial. There is a flag which reads to or from, and an omni-bearing selector, which is just a complicated name of the knob which rotates the thing. Now let's see if we can get some useful information from the VOR instrument. Also for this next part I'm going to bring out X-Plane and it's going to get technical, so you may want to have some coffee on hand. Okay, so here we are somewhere north of Lawag. Let's pretend like we don't know exactly where. And we need to figure out where we are. And for that we can use our VOR instruments. Both of these VOR instruments are tuned to the Lawag VOR. So what am I gonna do to find our location? First, we need to find a centered position. So here, a centered indication is telling me that this is a from. A from indication means that your radial is going to be given by the head. So your radial is going to be up here. Therefore, we are passing around radial 350. Now the same thing can be said if I was getting a 2 indication. A 2 indication is now telling me that if I head towards this heading of 170, then I will start to track the radial. I will head towards the VOR station. And this is telling me right now that I'm passing radial 345. So what I'm going to do right now is on the heading bug, I am going to turn the airplane to heading of, let's find a centered indication here, 160. So let's turn to heading 160 and we can see a result. And let's get a centered indication about 155. So okay, that's fine. Let's try and center the needle. Sorry about the altitude there, but as you can see, now that we're centered with a 2 indication at the same heading that our head is at of our VOR instrument, we are heading towards the station, and that is indeed the case. As you can see on the map, we are heading towards the station. We are currently therefore inbound radial approximately 330. Yeah, we are approximately radial 330. So now let's try to understand the way the needle deflects left and right. So as you can see, we are currently inbound on radial 010. And if I decide, I'm just going to pause the simulation, if I decide to move the aircraft over here to the aircraft's right. Notice what's going to happen to the needle if I unpause it. It deflects to the left. Same thing, if I deflect the aircraft over to its left, the needle will be deflected to the right. So if you want to center the needle, you turn into the direction which the needle is pointing. In this case, it's more towards the heading of 210, so we're just going to turn to around the right of 210. It's also very important to note that the outer ring of this VOR instrument does not move with your heading indicator. That needs to be done manually with the OBS. So you just need to be mindful about what you're looking at here. You're not looking at your directional gyro, you are looking at the VOR instrument. Now it's also important to note that you need to make sure that your directional gyro agrees with your VOR instrument. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look at what happens if I reverse this indication. I still get a centered indication, right? It's telling me that, it's a from indication. But watch what happens if I deflect the aircraft. If I move the aircraft to its right, suddenly the needle is off to the right as well. If I deflect it off to the left, the needle goes off to the left as well. And the natural instinct of a pilot would be to turn towards where this needle is pointing. So you'd turn left, but that would be a mistake because that will not center the needle. As you can see, if I do that, the needle will only go further and further towards its deflection. And that is called reverse sensing. And this VOR instrument is quite vulnerable to that. So it is important to make sure that you have the proper indications. If you're heading towards the station, be sure you have a to indication. If you're heading away from the station, be sure you've got a from indication.
It's nice to know that I don't need to be in a bucket or a couple.
If you made it through all that, congratulations, because now this is the easy part. The remaining two instruments make the VOR instrument look like a relic. The horizontal situation indicator manages to combine the functions of a heading indicator and a VOR instrument in one place, so you'll spend more of your time thinking and a lot less of it confused. The HSI is also immune to reverse sensing, so it will show you your selected radial regardless of a to or from indication. Everything you've learned still works with an HSI in the same way. You get a course deviation indicator, a to or from flag, and an OBS, but now it's called a course knob. The RMI might even be one of the most simple instruments in the cockpit, as it literally just shows which direction the VOR station is in. This makes it easy to tell which radial you are on, just look at where the tail is. In this example, we are passing radial 010. And that'll be it for now, so hopefully in the next video we can take some of what we've learned today and apply it to some procedures like interception. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like and subscribe if you want to see more content from this channel. Thank you and good day.